Our Across the Aisle segment tonight, CNN was caught red-handed publishing a fake news story about President Trump, and now they are refusing to issue a retraction. CNN lied about using Michael Cohen's lawyer, Lanny Davis, as the source for their Trump Tower story, where they claimed President Trump knew in advance about a meeting during the campaign with a Russian lawyer who was supposedly offering dirt on Hillary Clinton. Davis himself admitted to BuzzFeed he was the anonymous source in that story, but now he says the information in the story was false. For some reason, though, CNN is still sticking to their guns. Why won't they issue a retraction? With me now, Democratic strategist Laramie Flick. Laramie, good to see you.
How are you doing, Liz?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Laramie, let me ask you, you know this story about CNN. They issued this story claiming that President Trump knew in advance about a June 2016 Trump Tower meeting with this Russian lawyer. They used an anonymous source. And they said, by the way, that Lanny Davis had no comment in this story. They said that. Isn't this fake news since Lanny Davis was their anonymous source?
So we know, thanks to a tweet on August 5th from Trump, that this meeting was intended to get information about Hillary Clinton from the Russians. It wasn't adoption as originally stated, so consistency is not something that Trump's very good at either. When you come to this meeting, you have two choices when you look at Trump. Either he had no idea what's going on with anybody in his campaign, or he actually knew what his son was doing in his building right before the campaign. This particular story, if it turns out that that they falsified information, that they plagiarized, that they lied, these journalists will see their careers ruined. This is simply a story reporting that somebody said, that Cohen said, that he would be willing to testify that Trump knew about the meeting in advance. For it to be fake news, there has to be something proved to be incorrect. At this point, he's just retracting his claim that Cohen said, this is a game of telephone.
But CNN's not retracting the story, even though the source of the story is retracting their claim. You see the problem, right?
Davis is not retracting his claim that Trump might be involved.
This is what he said. This is what Lanny Davis said. He said, "I should have been more clear, including with you, that I could not independently confirm what happened. I regret my error." He literally is he's withdrawing that. But here's the problem. Here's where I think it's not just a source that burned CNN, because I understand that happens in journalism. Sometimes your source is not accurate. You should do your best to verify that and verify it with a secondary source. But sometimes you're burned by a source who gives you inaccurate information. I get that. This is why I don't give CNN the benefit of the doubt, though.
In this case.
No, this is why I don't give CNN the benefit of the doubt, because they purposely misled readers, and you can see why. Because when they used Lanny Davis as their anonymous source, they then led readers to believe that it was not Lanny Davis by saying Lanny Davis had no comment. When you say that, you're leading readers to believe that he was not the anonymous source.
So the story is, did Donald Trump collude with the Russians? Sorry, the story was not did Donald Trump, that CNN had proof that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. The story is that CNN had heard that somebody was willing to testify against Donald Trump, that what he'd said in the past was incorrect. There's a big difference between saying something happened and saying something, saying somebody else said something is going to happen.
So it's not correct information. It's not correct information. CNN published it. When it was proved that it wasn't correct, they didn't retract. I'm just trying to operate by the leftist standards of fake news here. I'm just trying to use the standards liberals set here. I don't understand why this wouldn't be fake if it's fake.
I Googled, I've been looking for a single journalist on the far right that has ever lost their job because they misrepresented a story, or they lied, or did anything like this. This story is simply CNN. It's a pretty bland story, really, that CNN had a source that said that Michael Cohen would testify against Donald Trump.
It's an absolutely huge allegation. It would actually be it would be a smoking gun to Democrats if this were true. If Cohen were to testify that President Trump knew about this meeting, that is the literal foundation of the leftist accusation that Trump colluded with the Russians. We can't brush this aside. It's a huge bombshell allegation. It turned out that their source said it was a lie, and they didn't issue anything that said, our source told us this, and now our source is retracting it. They're acting as if it's still true. I can't believe you don't think that's an issue journalistically.
It's a source that is not as high a quality as you would like. Of course, it's also somebody in the sphere of Trump's cabinet, and virtually everybody in there has been caught. Not virtually everybody, but a high percentage have been caught directly lying to the press.
CNN was just caught lying. You're pivoting away and blaming someone else for lying. CNN was just caught.
Lying. They were.
I don't understand why that's hard for leftists to just say CNN did it wrong. They should issue a retraction. You know, if they issued a retraction, this story would have left the news cycle after about 24 hours. But because they're digging in and continuing to tell us that this story is real, even though we know it's a lie, that's why we're still talking about it.
As Fox News does constantly, it's a people are saying story, which probably shouldn't be in journalism. People are saying stories. No, this is not CNN saying that we have proof that Donald Trump.
Let me ask you this, then. Let me ask you this, and then we'll go. How are you ever going to have confidence?
Sure.
How are you going to have confidence reading a report from CNN at another time that uses an anonymous source as the basis for their article? How are you going to be able to take them seriously or believe what they say when this has happened and they refuse to correct the record?
Last summer, 3 journalists at CNN lost their job because ultimately the story was revealed to have not been anywhere near
as should have happened.
If the investigation proves that this is the case, then sure, then they need to lose their jobs. But every time a journalist gets caught lying in mainstream, so-called mainstream media, they lose their careers a lot of time. There's a much higher standard. So it still remains to be seen. CNN still says they have 2 sources.
I don't think it remains to be seen. If you haven't seen Lanny Davis correct the record, the video's everywhere. That's all you need to see to know that this is true.
He
Laramie
simply said Michael Cohen is no longer willing to testify.
Laramie, I so appreciate having these conversations with you. I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for being here.